Godless Legion, today I would like to tell you about the teachings of Ecclesia Luciferi, about the gospel of flesh and blood. But before we begin reading, let us listen to a satanic hymn. It is Psalm number 6, from the book of Psalms of Ecclesia Luciferi, entitled Dicem Verba Impia.
Fides sit Deo, non certum tutum, non fides ore, non existentia fe, si Satanas cede cae, cedere. Memento, vocatum, scio,
After listening to the anthem, let us begin reading from the letter entitled Ecclesia Luciferi, the Gospel of Flesh and Blood. The power of theistic Abrahamic religions stems from an empirically unjustified belief in abstract metaphysical speculations and feeds on the emotions they evoke. It is based mainly on the belief in a reward for slavish obedience in the form of eternal life, free from all suffering and pain, which will follow death, and on the fear of death or eternal torture in hell. For theistic religion to be successful, it is also important to constantly instill a sense of guilt in its followers, to maintain the belief that a person has done something wrong or inherited an evil, corrupt nature and is therefore guilty, evil and corrupt from birth, and in fact completely worthless in and of themselves. Man is not capable of saving himself from his nature, and therefore needs a deity from the afterlife to save him from his natural misery. I believe that this brief description is a fairly concise summary of the message of the Christian gospel. The theistic Christian gospel can therefore be characterized in a fairly simple way. Can the teachings of the godless gospel of Ecclesia Luciferi be conveyed just as concisely? In its briefest form, it reads as follows. The doctrine of Ecclesia Luciferi was created for the benefit of some, for those who dare to abandon faith, hope, and love for delusions, and who fearlessly face the merciless, morally indifferent and brutal truth about the true nature of things. So that Satanists, having rejected their belief in imaginary gods, believe in the divinity of the human animal's reason, and in a plentiful godless life before death, and knowing that death is the inevitable end, have eternal peace after death, united forever with the power of indifferent infinity, the only godless reality that exists. Or even more succinctly, that man should love the godless world so much that he rejects belief in delusions that take away the power of the divinity of human reason, and that he should not become a slave to hellish fear, but have a godless life abundant before eternity in the peace of death. Expanding on these brief definitions, the godless gospel could be characterized as follows. The teaching of Ecclesia Luciferi is a godless gospel with transformative power, promising salvation from guilt, fear of death, and eternal punishment, and instinctive love above all for oneself and one's family, for the godless nature of which one is an integral part. It is a gospel of the ruthless justice of immoral natural laws, and of the peace that comes from accepting the truth about the godless nature of things. The empirical truth about reality in today's world faces increasing obstacles in reaching societies because, mainly due to the development of modern media and so-called social media, there is a clear decline in the level of intelligence and critical and independent thinking among their audiences and users. A society whose brains are brainwashed, first in childhood by theistic religions, then by the mass media and social media, loses its ability to think independently and critically, and becomes susceptible to the influence and manipulation of religious and political so-called authorities. This is why people today, especially those seeking answers to metaphysical questions, need the gospel of the flesh and blood. They need empirical, godless knowledge that saves them from fear and manipulation. They need to work towards the development of godless science that serves the survival of the species, here and now, instead of baseless hope for life after death, which demoralizes and takes away the will to act. They need love for nature, which gave them life, and offers them everything they need to continue their conscious life here and now. Ecclesia Luciferi teaches the absence of duality. There is no human soul as a separate entity from the body, no human being as an independent being, separate from the animal world. There is no God transcendent from the natural world. It is nature, the cosmos as a whole, that possesses all objective divine and satanic qualities, and it is an impersonal, immanent entity. Everything is one and interdependent. Understanding this truth has the power to give human life authentic meaning. Man possesses authentic dignity only when he strives to determine his own destiny, when he gives his life its own meaning, when he himself bears responsibility for his actions, and when he understands that it is he himself, and not some supernatural factor, who is responsible for his life choices, his mistakes, and their consequences. It is this Luciferian consciousness that gives man the real power to deal with his life and problems on his own terms. Slave labor for the glory of an imaginary dictator has nothing to do with human dignity. Can a slave's fear of his master be called dignity? The Satanism of Ecclesia Luciferi contained in its godless gospel is, from a psychological point of view, a positive worldview. It is not a negative worldview that has nothing to offer but negation. It is not a simple, primitive reversal of Christianity, although it draws attention to the fact that what is considered a virtue in theistic religions, especially Abrahamic ones, that is, blind faith in religious authorities, with an invented anthropomorphic dictatorial God from a supernatural reality and power, slavish obedience to invented religious dogmas, and fear of the wrath of this deity for any lack of subordination, is in fact evil and an emotional and mental defect. The ability to recognize the psychological evil underlying the Abrahamic religions, by their fruits ye shall know them. Hundreds of thousands of victims of fanaticism and intolerance of the Abrahamic religions are among the fruits of theism, is one of the characteristics of Ecclesia Luciferi Satanism. But there are others. From a philosophical point of view, Satanism of Ecclesia Luciferi contains a properly understood nihilism, according to which the meaning of life should not be sought in illusions and false hope, but in life itself. From a psychological point of view, this philosophy is characterized by an almost religious cult of nature and life itself, which comes from it. Because nature is all that exists, because it is omnipotent and created and nourishes us, and also because it is completely godless and amoral, Satanic in the light of the theistic theology of the Abrahamic religions, and at the same time possesses all the attributes of non-theistic divinity. Transcendent beings living outside the natural world are unknown to objective human science. From a theological point of view, Satanism of Ecclesia Luciferi offers an understanding of the essence of theism and provides tools for dealing with its evils and errors. This last aspect is very important because in the world of theistic religious rhetoric, there is a clear growing tendency for it to be exploited by leaders who are themselves religious fanatics or who have been established as rulers by a crowd stupefied by religious rhetoric and propaganda. Theists who truly believe in life after death will not hesitate to allow the destruction of the world because, as they believe, only after death will they finally be freed from suffering in this evil and sinful world, which they believe is ruled by Satan. Satanists who believe in life before death and worship the powers of nature manifested through their own instincts will do everything to make this one true world a godless paradise. And knowing that one lives consciously only once, they will consider life a priceless gift and respect themselves and other living beings. In light of the above, the Satanism of Ecclesia Luciferi can in fact be seen as light, and the theism of the Abrahamic religions as darkness. Only in this way can the Satanism of Ecclesia Luciferi be considered a reversal of theism. Brothers, let us conclude by listening to Psalm number 5 from the Godless Book of Psalms, entitled Prayer to the Godless Trinity.
Ecstasim